Okay. I know the address.
Come on, let's go, Raj.
No, we shouldn't go.
Let's go. Come on, Raj. Don't be a killjoy. Come on, we're back. We're bad. You're black. I'm mad. Come on, let's go.
Come on. Oh,
Hey, listen. If we're going, shouldn't I have a gun?
no.
Lethal Weapon 2, the sequel that brings back my favorite cops on the beat.
Glad you haven't heard about me. You know, I got a bad reputation. I mean, sometimes I just go nuts like now.
Because the magic is back.
Not only one of the greatest sequels ever, but where Black and White unite to bring on the fight.
On three. 1, 2.
Oh, that toilet is nasty. Lethal Weapon 2 from 1989, once again directed by Richard Donner. Shane Black taking on writing duties, but then passing them over to Jeffrey Boam because Shane Black wanted to stick with the dark and gritty police drama. But everybody else at Warner Brothers wanted there to be more humor in the script. Something I actually agree with because yes, we know that Weapon 3 and 4 got a lot more jokier. Now for me, this is a sequel that gets overlooked all too often. We think of Terminator 2, we think of Aliens, we think of The Empire Strikes Back, but nobody ever thinks to include Lethal Weapon 2 when it comes to really perfect sequels. Sequels that are just as good as the first film. I would say Aliens is better than Alien, but that's just a matter of preference and opinion. What can I say? Again, I never saw this at the cinema. I think I was in that frame of mind where I just didn't feel like going out too much. That's probably what it is, because I would have jumped at the chance of going to see Lethal Weapon 2 at the cinema. Instead, what I did when it was released on video, yeah, we are going back that many years, folks, when Blockbuster was a thing, and I must have rented out the VHS copy of this film at least 20 times plus. People at Blockbusters are thinking, oh, here comes that Lethal Weapon 2 guy again. Yeah, but yeah, it's true. I must have worn out the head on my dad's VHS for like the longest time. But yeah, I used to get home, put this film in, watch it at night and just memorize the lines, even look at the on-screen credits to see whose name I can remember. It was just this film had such a profound effect to me. Also, the South Africa angle was a thing that nobody kind of knew about because I remember friends telling me at the time, oh yeah, this happens in the movie, that you have the villains they have these really weird accents, and I just thought, what is going on here? What am I missing out on?
Yeah? What about a voice? Any voice?
That crazy motherfucker who did talk, he had a strange accent. I couldn't place it. Not German, not English, kind of guttural, shitty accent.
So that was just an intriguing part of the plot of the film that I wanted to know more about. Now, in case you haven't seen Lethal Weapon 2, make sure you watch number 1 before stepping into this. Ignore that god-awful TV series, which kind of besmirches the whole franchise as a whole, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, even though people have said to me, it's worth a watch. No, if you're not telling me I must watch it, I must sit my ass down and watch it from start to finish, I'm just going to ignore it. It just feels like a pistache of something that you don't need to make a TV show about, especially when the source material is more adult and more R-rated in its content and nature. So not only do we get the return of Danny Glover and Mel Gibson as Riggs and Murtaugh and the rest of his family, we also get the return of Steve Kahn or Steve Kahn. I'm never sure how to pronounce that surname.
And Riggs, one more thing.
What?
You know what that says?
Yeah. Same thing as that, but I don't give a fuck.
And then you have Dean Norris, yes, Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad as Tim Cavanaugh. He's in the movie. You see him right at the very beginning. And I'm like, wow, this guy has probably got a bit more portly over the ages, but he hasn't aged that much. He still looks like Dean Norris, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool. You got Jeanette Goldstein, who was the badass Marine in Aliens. You got some of the old crew returning for this sequel, which obviously makes sense in terms of continuity. Now, one of the more welcome delights of this sequel is Patsy Kensit, the then lead singer for Eighth Wonder, and she plays a secretary to the South African consulate, Rika van der Haas. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why am I not drooling over Patsy Kensit? What can I say? Mel Gibson and me. for an item.
No.
And her boss is played by Joss Ackland. Very, very formidable presence on screen. Now, Ackland is also ably supported by Derek O'Connor, who plays his henchman in crime, Peter Vorsted. Now, Peter Vorsted is a very interesting character in the realms of continuity for Lethal Weapon.
Take it easy. Especially you, Riggs.
Riggs? You Martin Riggs?
Yeah, the Chicago Riggses. What's your name?
Remember my review for number 1, where Riggs is mourning the death of his wife, Vicky? And then, of course, it comes around full circle in this film where it all points to Vorsted. I mean, even now, this must be what, the 30th time I've watched Lethal Weapon 2 in many, many years gone by, because I haven't seen it for ages. Yeah, I was so mad about the film that at the time I was working for a media company and I managed to get hold of a Lethal Weapon 2 jumper. I can't stand jumpers by nature, but I got that one and I wore it with pride. I don't know if I still have it in the house anywhere, but it would be funny if it still was. It could probably still fit me actually, because it was a size large when I tend to be a medium-sized kind of guy. But yeah, and then you also have Joe Pesci as Leo Getz. Whatever you want, he gets. And the three of these guys together on the big screen, I can't help thinking there's a lot of improv going back and forth, because Glover and Gibson improved many of their lines for the first film, which is kind of an unheard of thing, because normally when you have this script written down to like the last dot and the last T crossed, you can't change anything. But obviously Richard Donner allowed a lot of creative freedom on these films, and I think they're better off for it. And yeah, it's just a great film from start to finish. Obviously they've got more money to put into this one, whereas the first film was more grounded in its action. This one just ups the stakes where the action comes into it. It kind of like builds up really slowly. So you have like the scene, the actual car chase at the beginning, where you've got the Looney Tunes music just coming on, and then you got Riggs and Murtaugh pursuing his red BMW, and what a surprise cargo that's carrying in the back. That's all I got to say on that one. And then the stunts just kind of like topping each other as they go along. There's a hotel fight where the baddie and everybody else kind of ends up in a swimming pool, except for Murtaugh, because we know he's too old for this shit. And the most outrageous stunt that occurs in the film is a house on stilts. Now, these things are real, apparently. I never knew that. And people are probably thinking, well, how can a Jeep pull down a house? Well, every structure has a weak point. And quite clearly, that house did have one. So it kind of made sense in the realm of the plot. Now, as a quick service to the plot itself, Joss Ackland, who plays the main big baddie of the movie, is a South African diplomat. So they're free to travel to America, do their money laundering business, and never get touched because of their diplomatic immunity. But you have to remember, this is 1989, and back then, the level of security isn't what it is now. So for the villains to turn the tables around and start taking off the police one by one so they can carry on with their illegal and illicit activities makes a whole bunch of sense. Because I was scratching my head for a while thinking, well, if all these police officers have been trained to such a standard, why don't they know basic things that could happen to them? Which, I think in today's climate, you'd actually be very paranoid about just even turning the door open before you step into the house. But, you got to forgive it for the time. That's how it was written. So I don't mind that too much at all. It is just what it is. The film has these nice little devices. There's a running joke with Roger Murtaugh's station wagon or his wife's car that keeps getting battered along the way, and like eventually gets to the part where it has no side door, which is pretty funny. There are some crazy stunts, like I mentioned in this film. I'm not going to mention the most memorable. I'll actually leave my reaction for it in this video. There were things going on in the world like apartheid in South Africa, the cruelty to tuna fish, and these are even highlighted to a degree in the film, especially the black and white angle, the whole racism and everything going on in South Africa being brought over to America, even though America, you could say, was already and is still suffering from racism. And the way they deliver that message, I think, is I would say it's responsible. It definitely delivers what it's meant to. You couldn't get away and make a film like that today, I don't think. But back in 1989, it was a nice little subversive thing to have seen at the cinema.
I'll make a deal with you, Arjun. Arjun, is that, or Aryan, or whatever the fuck your name is? I'll make a little deal with you. You fold up your tents and get the fuck out of my country, and I won't do anything to you. I'll leave you alone. Because if you stick around here, I'm gonna fuck your ass. I'm gonna send you home with your balls in a sling. You got that?
Just get out of here. Kafir lover.
Oh. If you want to hate a villain, that's the best way to do it. This film deserved to be the massive hit that it was. And then, you know, when Lethal Weapon 3 came out, it was a bit disappointing. They kind of dialed down what made number 2 so special. And yeah, for me, like, number 2 is the completionist guide to Lethal Weapon. If you're one of these guys or girls that collects films, not because you want to get the whole collection, because some entries aren't as good as others, I would say just tie your collection down to Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2. One thing I liked about the sequel as well, which, you know, unless you really pay attention, is how they get Martin Riggs to execute his same military moves again as he did in number 1. And even some of the lines of dialogue they've taken here and they've kind of reworded them for, or adapting them to a new type of situation that both of our favorite cops find themselves in, which I thought was great. And Joe Pesci, that guy's naturally very funny. I can't help but thinking that Gibson and Glover probably had, they probably couldn't hold their serious faces for much longer and broke out into laughter in between takes, because some of those scenes that I see them of, I'm thinking, no man, these guys must have had to have taken a coffee break at this point. It was too much.
Actually, I already have my stuff in this room. I mean, you know, when I,
But Lethal Weapon 2 by Dick Donner, Richard Donner, the man, the dude, the hombre. This gets the maximum 5 out of 5 hot dogs with a nice big burp on top. So I hope you enjoyed today's retro review from yours truly. I enjoyed watching Lethal Weapon 2. It still feels like a breath of fresh air after all these years. I'm going to go back to watch it again maybe in the summertime, because for me, when I think about when it was released, it was a summer movie release, you know, hot off the heels of Die Hard the year before. And yeah, I just love this film so much. I love these two guys. I think they're just ace all the way. And yeah, that's all I can say. If you've never seen Lethal Weapon 2, do watch it. You won't waste your time. It's, yeah, some of the violent action scenes, I don't know how they got away with those back then, but you couldn't get away with them now, that's for sure. It's amazing how much violence has toned down a lot in the cinema since the glory days of Warner Brothers and those years in the late 80s. But thank you very much for sticking around for this retro review, and I'll see you on my next upload.
Where are they? Are they all gone? Bad guys, you get them?
They've been decaffeinated.
Oh God.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man.